I never thought I'd say this, but the French have led the way. The first arrest of a woman wearing the burqa. Refuses to obey the law, refuses to remove it, so she has to be. Now, Phyllis Chesler is a world-renowned psychotherapist, author of 14 books, someone who has followed this issue closely. By the way, terrific. What she writes, it really is very impressive stuff, very brave too. She joins me now from New York. Welcome to you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thanks for your kind words.
I mean them because what has happened to many people, they've been more on the left, perhaps, but they've seen the threat of Islamic fundamentalism. They address that, and then other people on the left say, you're a traitor, you've let us down, which is not the case at all, of course.
Well, the so-called militant third-wave feminists believe wrongly that it is a religious right or a personal choice right to walk around in a sheet with your face completely disappeared from public view. And we're not talking about hijab, let's be clear. The scarf, I have no objection, nobody objects to that, because it doesn't disappear one's identity. But once you understand that this is not a religious commandment, that women and men in the Coren are both told to dress modestly, and women are told to cover their bosom. That's it. And yes, there's a long history in Muslim countries where the veil has been abolished or not enforced, and there's been enormous modernization, and this continues actually until the so-called Arab Spring is set to bring us back to the 7th century. So from a feminist and human rights point of view, it is really my considered opinion that imagine being enclosed like this, and you don't have peripheral vision. Right. You can't eat in public. You can't be identified. You can't say hello to somebody who can't recognize you. And you are essentially in a sensory deprivation isolation chamber, a movable prison. Yes. And this is a form of torture, and it has psychiatric consequences. And above all, even though a woman may say, but it is my desire, it is my faith. I've interviewed Western women 30 years ago who said, oh, I'm not discriminated against economically, when in fact, objectively, they were. I think what's going on is that the peer pressure is enormous, and you don't want to be unakilled, for example, as poor Aksa Parvez was in Toronto. Yep. For refusing to veil properly, or as the poor daughters and first wife in the ongoing Shafia case in Canada, who wanted to become Canadians, who wanted to assimilate and wear modern clothing, for example. Yes. So as the women in the West, and this is Muslim women, who want to westernize and to assimilate, say no veil or just modest hijab and not niqab and not burqa, they are being unmurdered. So every woman, in a sense, who insists on her right to wear it is endangering the woman who doesn't want to wear it. Yeah. And sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, you're absolutely right about the Arab Spring. I mean, even going back to in Iran, when the Shah was in power, women were so liberated, and the way they dressed however they wanted to. In Syria, Assad, hardly a good man, is a dictator, but he had, as a secular leader, as a Ba'athist leader, he had said no to this covering. In fact, he passed laws saying you have to dress in a certain way. The Muslim Brotherhood are rebelling, and in an attempt to try and get people back on his side, said no, now you should wear the veil, and I can see more of this coming. Let's talk about France in particular, though, because the law there says what? And we've just had the first arrest, is that right?
That is correct, and this was a purposely chosen arrest. The woman could have had 15 days of civic education, but with great aggression and self-righteousness, she said the judge needs 15 days of civic education, that my constitutional rights demand that my face can be disappeared. Now, the law in France was very carefully crafted to be religion and ethnicity neutral. So just as we don't want people in banks wearing masks or people on witness stands wearing masks, they're saying that the face cannot be covered in public places in France. You can do as you will in the mosque or at home. That's private. But this version of radical fundamentalist Islam views what is private as public and views the state as it should be Islamic. And this is a way of forcing the West, and I congratulate France for taking this step. This is a way of forcing the West to look more and more like Saudi Arabia. Now, I'm not sure that, I understand, I can appreciate that we don't want the state telling us how to dress. All right, and how you accomplish this is very crucial. And I think if immigrants or new converts, which is the case with one of the two women in France, it's Hind Ahmaz and Kenza Drida, who I believe is a convert, you don't want the state interfering with private religious practice, but in France, they've separated it. The Muslims don't want to separate it. They want the state and the religion to be as one as it is in Saudi Arabia. What I fear will happen is that this Burka martyr will become a poster child for an international campaign toward imposing Sharia law on the West, and she's vowed to take this to a higher court in Europe. I don't think she can win, but I think it will be a very important and a very tough battle.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I agree with you. I think this is going to be seminal. This will change laws or influence laws and attitudes in many countries outside of Europe as well. We'd love to have you back to talk about the progress of this case. And again, thank you so much for what you do, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very, very much.